Dan, radio style. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day as always. I certainly have. It's been fun. And I had a request for a show, so I guess that's kind of why we're doing this one. Someone that I kind of met on the business trip out in Birmingham had threw a question my way, and I thought, hey, what the heck? That's probably a very good place to start. So let's cover the business. Dan, radio style is the channel, which of course you know because you're listening. Also, if you'd like to get in touch with me, please do so. You can email me at spiritradiodanstyle@gmail.com. It's spiritradiodanstyle@gmail.com. That's right. Oh yeah, I went there. All right. So what really the question was is how do we maintain a positive kind of that positive attitude, right? You get your energy going, you get it real good, you use the 17-second rule, and you get everything kind of up and running, and then you take about 5 steps forward, and then you begin to question yourself. Very normal. I do it still, but I will say that you do get better at it, right? So what used to be a larger derailment, if you will, now it just takes me usually a few seconds, and I instantly can get myself back on track. But that's a very common part of this. So kind of I thought was a great show. So I think I'm calling something like letting positive thoughts win. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to call it when it finally comes down to it. And I wanted to start off one thing just as light workers, which I think is predominantly my audience. Really, we're trying to be a demonstrative force. We're trying to show others the way. We're not trying to tell them. We're just trying to be the way. So always remember that. You are showing people that are looking up to you. And every single one of us, trust me, every single one of us has people looking up to us. That's part of the nature of who we are. It's part of why you're attracted to this kind of show is because it's resonating with you and you're a light worker, frankly, right? So let's try to always keep that in mind. That is almost more important than anything else. It's more important than what kind of car you drive, how much money you have in the bank, how nice your clothes are, what kind of bag you're carrying. It used to be called a purse. Apparently, I've learned it's now a bag. I didn't know. I didn't know when the transition happened, but somehow, yes, these things have changed. So one thing to keep in mind when we're trying to manifest is start smaller. A lot of people really do start kind of large. You read something and it makes you think, all right, cool, yeah, I can have whatever I want. And you can, no question about it. Problem is, though, sometimes we shoot for the moon. We're like, I want to be a millionaire tomorrow. And no, that ain't going to happen. There's no way. It's not going to happen. I mean, it could, but the chances are ridiculous. So let's start with something that's a little more legitimate. Now, one thing I've posed before in the past, a very simple way to start working on manifestation, really, start with something very small, very easy to believe, and I recommend something like someone handing you a bottle of water. It's very possible to happen. It could happen 15 times a day. There's bottled water everywhere, and there's a very, very strong chance that's going to happen. So manifest it. Imagine someone handing you, not a specific someone, just imagine like receiving that bottle of water in your hand, and then kind of give it some time and see how long it takes before someone actually hands you a bottle of water or says, hey, would you like a bottle of water? Because when that occurs, you're going to go, okay, cool, and you might even get chills or goosebumps. But you're going to go, okay, cool, that's working. Then you start messing around with stuff like parking places. I'm going to be driving down to the grocery store. I want to get a spot up close. Imagine that spot. Imagine someone pulling out right as you're driving up, and then make that happen. And you can play around with green lights. Imagine that, the 5 traffic signals that you're going to drive through on your way to wherever. Imagine them green and see what happens. And then you start working up to the larger things. Now, one of the ones I like to use that I think is fun because they exist, it's believable, but they're not necessarily always right around where you're at unless you happen to be in a place where they are. But beach ball, I keep referring to the beach ball analogy over and over throughout a lot of my shows, and that's because I think the beach ball is a great one. It was also a huge symbol I used very, very early on. And ironically, as I was driving down the road, I saw it in the gutter, and I just got chills, and I laughed. I started laughing. I'm like, there's my beach ball. So start with something small, work up to like the beach ball, and then what you're really doing is you're building your confidence in the process, because it's really all it is it's just putting the thought out there and knowing it's going to happen. And then the more we question it, that's what slows it down. So we've got to keep it small and then work up. And then after you kind of gotten some of that going, then you apply these techniques towards the larger things: relationships, houses, cars, money, whatever is your thing. That's when we start to build up to that. And then that's where you're going to start to use some of these tools to keep yourself positive. Now, one other thing that we really also got to keep in mind, and this is a huge part of why many of us have a very hard time staying positive, we are bombarded with programming on TV, on radio, in magazines, in papers, everywhere. You're not good enough. You don't smell good enough. You need to use this deodorant. You need to use this hair product. You need to have this jewelry. You need to drive this car because you're not good enough the way you are right now. You know what'll make you better? Whatever it is I'm selling. That's what you need because you suck right now as the way you are. So we've got to really get through a lot of that programming. Sometimes the extreme thing, stop watching TV for a while. You will be surprised how much easier it is to maintain a positive attitude when you're not being bombarded by so much negativity that's out there. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. These things are working against you at all times. And I know for some of us that we work in, I work in radio. I work on the radio industry. I don't necessarily listen to radio a lot. I listen to CDs or whatever I want to listen to, or sometimes even like some of my shows or whatever. I'm streaming stuff on my phone in the car and Bluetooth in it, So there's ways to get around a lot of that stuff. I highly recommend doing all of that as well. Now, there's one other kind of, I don't want to say caveat, but there's another piece to this that is the way the universe is built and is supposed to work. It's called the Law of Confusion, at least in the series that I was reading called the Law of Ra, or the Law of One. There's a portion of it that's called the Law of Confusion, and that's essentially things are offered to us in a way that like you believe it, you feel it, you know it's true, but you can't prove it to anybody else. There's no way to prove it to anybody other than yourself. That's unfortunately, it's kind of the beauty of this process. You learn it for yourself. You don't learn it for others. You don't learn it to show people. You learn it for you, to enhance your life, to make things better, which in turn will allow you to help other people, right? It'll help you, if you're in a relationship and you're making all of a sudden a whole bunch more money, then boom, look at that. Now all of a sudden you guys are taking vacations and all this and everything's wonderful and groovy, right? So again, these things are kind of by design. We have free will. That is not supposed to ever be taken away from us. That's a huge part of this. Believe it or not, if someone walked up to you and basically said, boom, here's all you have to do, you would probably look at that individual as a deity, and then you would start to give up your free will and follow their choices and follow what they're saying. And really, you need to incorporate this and make this your own. It's a very important part of that. So also, what I kind of mentioned in my last show, the 17-second trick. So if you're noticing yourself kind of hitting a slump, like you're like, okay, I'm going to make $100,000 this year. Last year I made 50. It's a reasonable jump. It's not too crazy a jump, but still doubling your salary in 1 year is extreme. So one thing to keep in mind is if I don't quite double my salary in 1 year, but maybe I hit 65, maybe I hit 70, maybe I hit 72 from 50, that's still a huge percentage jump. That's worthy of praise, okay? So yes, sometimes we go a little larger than we should, but let it happen. Let it flow. Maybe you said I need to make $100,000 this year. Maybe it takes you 2 years to do that. That's okay, right? You doubled your salary in 2 years. That's huge. So the 17-second trick is going to help get you through a lot of those moments where you start to question yourself, where you start to say, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that sale, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that job, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop. Start reminding yourself, everything's good, everything's great, I'm on my path, I'm heading in the direction I need to head right now, and everything is working out exactly as it should, in the perfect timing. And just kind of remind yourself that everything's good and everything's on track, and you start to just feel better. And again, if you do it for 68 seconds, which to correct my lack of knowledge in the last one, 17 seconds times 4 is 68. So that's kind of how that works, is if you do essentially 4 rounds of 17 seconds, you've now got a ridiculous amount of momentum. So for those of you that are really having a very hard time trying to stay positive, I recommend going the full 56 seconds. 58 seconds, sorry. Go the entire 4 rounds. Just do it for a minute. It takes 1 minute. Even if you've got to go in the restroom and just kind of whisper to yourself so people don't think you're crazy in the stall next to you, right? When they want a square to spare. Of course, Seinfeld joke there. So that's something also to keep your thoughts on and help kind of focus you in the right direction. Also, sometimes it helps just to think of something that lifts your spirits, something that makes you happy. Maybe you've got a dog at home. Maybe you've got a child. Maybe you've got a significant someone. Maybe there's like a picture of a sunrise, or maybe just seeing a sunrise, or maybe driving up on that one special hill and looking out over the city just makes you feel amazing. Then get up there and help recharge your thought process. Keep working it. Don't give up. Just keep pushing it, and you will notice that things start to happen. You'll start to notice. In fact, the one friend that even commented to me, wanted to make more money, and then instantly had like kind of a successful day and kind of shared it with me. And I was like, that's awesome. And that's exactly what you're talking about, right? Keep doing it. You ride those highs. You take those moments. You take the victories, and you remember that the next time you start to question yourself. And you will build and build and build. And one thing that is also super, super, super important to keep in mind is it is not the destination, it's the journey, because you're never done, right? So say you set $100,000 at the end of the year. When you hit $100,000, then what are you going to do, right? You're not done. So what, you go to 200? Sure. So keep working. Don't think it's done. It is the destination. It's the journey. It's the learning to ramp up your consciousness, to keep yourself happy and focused and positive through a majority of the time. That is what you're learning to do. The result that you're asking for is the indication that you're on the right track, that you're doing it, that you're learning this. That's your indicator that you're doing well, right? And you'll get little coincidences along the way too, little insights, little things will happen. People will walk up and bring up something that just randomly makes sense that you've been thinking about just 20 minutes before. These are all the little things that are going to keep helping you along the way. But learning to control our thoughts is key. It's absolutely key. Hopefully this makes a difference for all you guys out there. Believe me, this is my day-to-day. This is what I work on every single day is making sure I keep myself in line with who I am, and still continuing to work towards these goals that I have. I mean, I've got some pretty strong goals, and they grow constantly. And that's the fun of this, is watching these things happen, watching them unfold. Even some of the larger ones, it's way cooler because there's so many little things that happen to make the big things occur. And the little things are fun. As they come up, you're like, all right, there's one of them. There's an indicator, right? So keep looking out for all the little indications. Keep enjoying the small steps towards your big goal. And also remember, it's the journey. Seriously. The destination, or in the case of my friend, the $100,000 is not what it's about. The $100,000 is the indication that I've got this kind of figured out. Now let's see what else I can do with it. That is what it's all about. So keep yourself focused, keep yourself strong, keep your positive energy going. 17-second rule works awesome. It's a beautiful way to go. And that's kind of what I think I brought to the table here, and I'm hoping this makes a difference for y'all. It's Dan Radio Style. I appreciate you guys joining, as always. And thank you. And if you got questions like my friend had, shoot me an email at spiritradiodanstyle@gmail.com, and I will do my best to try to answer it or try to do a show on it. I'm still reasonably small in the big picture, and basically you guys are helping me build a library. So I love it. The questions are great. There's 10 of you that actually listen with any sort of regularity, maybe. And that number's growing too. It's part of my thing, right? I'm trying to grow this. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm asking the universe to show me, hey, show me what I can do to make a difference. And that was actually where I got the crazy idea to ask my friend, hey, what would a question be that you'd ask, right? And here you go. So I might bug a couple of the people out there that listen on a regular basis and just say, hey, give me a show idea, and we'll go from there. All right? Spirit Radio Dan Style. Thank you, everybody. We'll be doing some more shows coming soon.